My name's Praveen. I'm from India. I'm going to share with you a true story that happened many years ago. The story involves my distant uncle and takes place shortly after his marriage. It was during that time that my aunt gave birth to a baby boy. But shortly after giving birth, she died due to complications. My uncle was left with no choice but to care for the child with the support of his parents. They settled into their new life, but strange things started happening. They were subtle and seemed like nothing. I can remember him telling me that when he looked at the baby rocker, he would notice that it was moving on its own. This happened every night, but they ignored it and didn't think much about it. As time moved on, my uncle's work became extremely busy, and he would spend most of his days outside working. Work made it difficult for my uncle to properly care for the child, who was slowly becoming neglected. His parents noticed that my uncle was struggling to manage the balance of work and family without a wife, and suggested the best option for him was to get married again. He agreed. It wasn't long before my uncle was remarried and life returned to normal. In fact, it was better than normal. Everything was going well, and during that time, his second wife eventually gave birth to a baby girl, and as the years passed, both kids grew up together. Life was normal for the children until the girl became 10 years old. She started seeing dark figures around the house. She would often tell her parents that when she walked the stairs, these dark figures would try to push her. They would appear at night, in her room, watching her, even sometimes trying to scare her. But her parents never listened to her. They disregarded her stories and thought she was a kid. For my uncle, it was normal for kids to talk like this. But slowly, they would come to realize that her stories might be true. It started with the sound of footsteps. And from there, more and more stranger things happened in the house. Especially the closer the family was to the boy's room. But still, the family disregarded these events and made excuses for them, saying it was nothing. Until one day, Uncle and his new wife were getting ready to go to a party. While they were getting ready, his wife was having trouble picking a dress to wear. Uncle had kept a few clothes from his first wife and suggested that she take a look. They were kept properly in a box and in good condition. She was delighted as she found the perfect dress among the clothes and began to put it on. It was the same dress which my uncle's dead wife had worn at the time of her wedding. But as soon as she wore that dress, Uncle's younger sister, who was present in the room, started crying loudly. Her behavior changed all of a sudden, and she started acting very strangely. When the others in the house heard her crying, they came running into the room. The younger sister became enraged, started throwing everyone and everything around furiously. She had become extremely strong. Even 5 people were not able to control her. The commotion caused the people from the neighborhood to gather around the house. It was clear that she was possessed by some evil entity, and that they had no choice but to work together and take her to a tantric. Tantric is a person that possesses the powers of mantra and black magic, and a good tantric knew how to exorcise a bad spirit from a person. They somehow managed to get her to a tantric. When they got there, the tantric forced her to sit in front of him and began the process. He started chanting some mantras and sprinkling water on her face. As soon as the water hit her face, Uncle's sister looked at the second wife furiously and started speaking, but not in her own words, but as my uncle's dead wife's voice. "I will not leave this woman alive. This woman is no mother to my son. How dare she behave this way with my son? She hoards the good food for her daughter and leaves my son the leftovers. She beats him for no reason. She never treated my son like any mother would. How dare she touch my clothes? I won't leave her alone. I will kill her." Hearing her words, Uncle's second wife started apologizing to the spirit. She apologized and said it would never happen again. She vowed that she would always treat her child like her own. But the spirit was not ready to listen. She was adamant. The spirit wanted her dead. The tantric repeated over and over again, over the cries and apologies, and commanded the spirit to leave the girl's body, or he would be forced to use his powers on her. Eventually, the spirit agreed. She would leave her body, but on one condition. "You will give me sweets," the spirit demanded. 80 kilograms of sweets. The tantric agreed to the condition, however asked the spirit, "How would we know that you have left her body?" The spirit said that you must place those sweets in the cemetery, and when you do, a black dog will appear to eat them. That will be your proof that I have left her body. They all agreed and did exactly that. They kept 80 kilograms of sweets somewhere in the cemetery, and as soon as they placed the sweets, as promised, around 10 to 12 black stray dogs came there and started eating them. Immediately after that, Uncle's sister returned to normal. And today, 20 years have passed since this incident, but still, to this day, they say that the presence can still be felt in their home. To this day, although her presence doesn't bother anyone, she can be felt straying around their house, keeping a watchful eye and ensuring that she's always around for the protection of her son. Well, friends, how'd you like today's story? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for this channel to listen each and every weekday for more real horror stories. We got a ton of amazing real horror stories and we're dying to share them with you. So until then, stay out of the dark and stay tuned for our next video.